This is another in a series of video tutorials on business partner estimating software, and today we're going to talk about the report area within Business Partner. Basically, there are three types of reports that would go to that you would use on a frequent basis, and that would be an estimate. You see the radio button there, or a proposal, or and these are the two external reports, or you may go to the internal reports and use this area here for a job cost report, and there's several variations on that within this box, but we'll start back here with the external reports, the most commonly used. The report the customer would typically see first would be an estimate, and an estimate is just that, an estimated cost of what their project would be based off of whatever information you've received at that point. Most of the time I'm estimating off blueprints or sketches. And so this is the report I would use. It would not include drawings, although it could if you wanted to do that, but mine typically do not. And these check boxes just allow you to tailor that estimate to your own needs. So the first one being the job information page, and that page has the address and the door style and the wood species and the finish and all of that information, but no costing information. And then this second area here includes the itemized list, and you can include the prices or not. You could say, you know, we've got 7 cabinets and 12 doors and 6 drawer fronts, and you know, any one of these items with no price or with a price. In this case, it's currently set to have a price included. These are just little quick buttons that would say include standard, which are whatever you've set originally in that. This would include none, unchecks all of them, but it includes standard typically is just these last 4 items, and then include none, include all would be all of them, which is what I typically use. I do want them to see, you know, the cabinets and the doors and the drawer fronts, but some people don't really care for the client to see how much toe board there is or how many fillers there are, maybe even what is functional hardware, drawer guides and hinges and things like that, but I want them to see it all. And then we also have a radio button here of all are selected to show on reports. There are some items that we may not want them to see, and we can set within the database itself that these are just labor upcharges or something like that that we don't want to show. And if you choose this radio button selected to show on reports, then only the items that don't have that radio button checked on the item itself will show. If you check all, then everything will show on the report. This next checkbox is in relation to, so your first page would be the job information, the second page would be the itemized list, and the third page, and this would just be one page, but this could be multiple pages if it's a large room or a large job. But then the contract terms and conditions, and this would be either in an estimate or proposal, would actually include the terms and conditions of that estimate or proposal, and within that are included the payment schedule. And that's an active box within it, and we'll see it here in a minute. And then we also have a little radio button here that says include second copy for customer builder. So if you're sending this by way of a fax machine, that's kind of irrelevant. They can, you know, print that copy out and make another copy of it. If they can fax something, typically they can print it. But some people would like to have a secondary copy. If you're mailing it to them, makes sense that just in case they don't have a copy machine of some sort, they'll have one copy for them to keep and one copy for them to sign and mail back to you. So it's just this last page is duplicated twice. And then job notes, I never check this, but you could have job notes included. Typically that's not something you want the customer to see. That's stuff that you would want your employees to see. The whole bottom section here is nothing but related to the printing process itself. And this is going to be true in several areas, whether we're estimates and proposals for external reports or whether we're in the internal report area. We have the option here. Where you actually set up your printer, originally would be up here. Now this says scripts, but in the runtime version this says tools, and you would come up here and go to the print setup and then set up your printer. I like to use a program called FinePrint which is a preview program. It allows you to preview it and then sort as well. I like to mix my KCD drawings with my business partner reports to create an estimate or proposal that may include drawings and other associated items, other PDFs, items that could be images of trash pullouts or things like that. So you would set your printer up there initially, but down here you're actually telling it how you want this process to go within the database. So you could say preview and then print. So if you chose this, it would allow you to see the pages, but as soon as you got done and said, okay, I've seen them all, it would go directly to your printer. This second item, preview and prompt for printing, would again allow you to preview each of the pages, and then it'll pop up a box and say, do you want to print this? And you can say yes or no. This next one would allow you to preview, but not to print. This is if you just want to go look at it. Again, I'm going to use fine print, so that allows me to go look at the report and not print it, or print it if I want. And this last one is just no preview, go straight to the printer, and don't ask me any questions about it. This throws up a question of show print dialog box, which is the box we see if we go up here to print setup. Well, we don't think you need to see that every single time you're going to print something. It's just a distraction. So we're allowing you to say, no, I don't want to see that. I've already set the printer up once. I don't want to set it up a dozen times. So if we were going to print this estimate, we make sure we have all the radio buttons and check boxes checked we wanted, and then we would go print report, choose a job that we want to print the estimate for, and then if there's multiple rooms, then you could go ahead and check those rooms or uncheck some rooms, and then say continue. And this is it's going to actually calculate all of the information for each of the rooms in the background, and then it's going to pop up this one last screen, and this is basically giving you the opportunity to review. Is it still just one trip to the job site? Is it still 16 miles? Has something changed in that? Or do you need to maybe change some of these rates? The cost of gasoline's gone up. Maybe you want to change your per mile rate a little bit. Again, this is not something you normally need to change, but it's a reminder that is it still one trip? Tax rates don't change day to day, but it is a reminder. Or you may be able to come in here and say, hey, I want to make add an additional percentage to this job, or I want to subtract an additional percentage from this job, or I want to, this is for my preacher, so I want to subtract 10%. Or this one is actually a fixed adjustment, so it would be a dollar amount. If you were going to use this line here, you would say, $100 and then preacher discount or something like that. And then it's reminding you of what the terms you've chosen are. 50% deposit required to place job in a production schedule, balance due upon completion. And then do you want to show the design fee? Now, these are all things that you would have answered earlier through this process, but this is giving you a second shot at them. So we'll say continue. Slide this over so we can see it. Fine print would allow us to preview what we've just printed. Now this is probably pretty small, but these reports have been previewed within a secondary program called FinePrint that also would allow me to sort them. So this being the first page of the estimate, and this being, which is that job information page, and it has all the information about where the job is located, where it's going to be, who it's sold to, who it's shipped to, and then trip quantities, door style, cabinet numbers and quantities, door styles, and finishes with all of that information that's relevant to this job. And this would be per room. This is for the kitchen, so this would repeat itself if there's multiple rooms, unless you just put them all in one room and name it something project. Then you actually have the itemized list report. That actually shows the individual items. There's a cap for the post form top, $12.32, and there's one of those, and on and on and on. Each item, cabinets, doors, hinges, drawer guides, all of that. This one actually has 2 pages of that, and the last item is toe board. And then this is actually a separate job that it picked up because I canceled the process. So I'm going to cancel out of this and go back to our project because we don't need to see that. And then you also have the option here to do proposal, secondary report. The proposal is a report identical to estimate. It just changes the name in the top corner. So those reports would be specific to your particular application. So if you've not been to the job site typically and you're pulling off of blueprints or sketches, you would use an estimate. Once you've been to the job site and you've field measured it and you've created drawings, then at that point you would produce a proposal for that job site. Now let's go into the internal reports and take a look at those. I don't recommend anybody use these, but they are there if you want to print the list of items in the database. That's what this whole bottom section is. If you clicked on the cabinets button, it would print all of the cabinets that are in the database. Well, you can see them on screen. There's no real reason to have any of these items printed out, but it's possible if you wanted to. These job cost reports get pretty detailed. Most people don't really want to see all this, and this whole little section down here is the same thing we saw on the other page, and it's the same thing here where it's just the printer setup itself. But these are the actual reports that you can print. So if you said you wanted a detailed being the most detailed report, or a summarized, or a categorized, this one would be a little bit summarized slightly, and this one being categories only. I'm not going to have the detailed line items. But if you really wanted a detailed report for a job, you would click this detailed report and print report, and then choose a job that you want to do that with. And I'm going to choose something that has more than one room here. Let's see. We'll take a look, looking for a job that would have several rooms. I believe this one had a couple. Yeah, it's got 3 rooms: a master bath his, a master bath hers, and a master closet hers. That allows us to see that it does. You could pick and choose which of those rooms you wanted to show. But this is a little more information than most people would want. Okay, while that was calculating, I paused it and then went back and set this to preview within the business partner itself instead of fine print, since fine print was so small. I think this is a little bit larger, a little easier for you to see. And this is the actual preview within Business Partner estimating software. So this is a pretty detailed report, and it is, each one is titled so you get a good idea of what you're looking at. In this case, this is the detailed job cost materials report first, and this is for the master bath his, and then you see, there's multiple columns: quantity, square foot, per part material cost, per square foot material cost, per part finishing cost. And you see there's not some of these things, and that may be that part was outsourced, or there just is no materials for that particular item. But every item is accounted for in multiple columns, this being a door, a Verona door, quantity of 2, 5.74 feet, and then this is the per part material cost, and this is the per square foot material cost. And in this case, the per part finishing cost is blank, so that means that the finishing was done in-house, or that it's a labor item, so it wouldn't be on the material report. And that may be what the deal is with these two. So if it's a labor item and it's a per part cost, it won't be here, but it'll be on the labor side of it. So this is very, very detailed, and then it's in alphabetical order for the categories: accessories and cabinets and drawer fronts. And we can scroll through all the way to the end of that particular room. And now we're in the master bath hers, and a duplicate of that, just the same information for the item specific to that room. And then if we skip through those pages, and we'll come to the master closet hers, and again repeat all these items. And again, we're still on materials for this third room, and we can scroll through that. And then we have to continue. We're done. This little Rolodex up here is telling you if there's lines on it, that's telling you can flip the pages. You can also use the slide button. I'm back to page 1, or I could come all the way to the last page. But you flip through it just like a Rolodex to go to the pages. Then you continue to go to the labor portion, and this is the master bath his. Again, we see all the same information, but the cost is in different columns typically, because now we're talking about labor as opposed to materials. And you can continue, flip through these pages. That's the master bath his, master bath his still, and now we're into hers, master bath hers, master bath hers. That's the last page of that, and then the master closet hers. It's just a detailed, itemized report with all of the costs for the labor of this particular room. And then we have the installation labor, which is separate from the shop labor. And so again, master bath hers, master bath his, and then the master bath his, and the master bath hers, and then back again material and labor, material and labor. Then when we continue to the next section, we actually see the material total for, this is for master bath his, and there's the material total, there's the labor total, the subtotal. These are our markups. We're going to mark this up 147.07 for our sales efforts, 147.07 for our design efforts, overhead of recapturing of 558.84, and then mark up 735.32 for the profit. And then we didn't add anything to that additional field, but if we had it, would be there. And then that's that room total, with the exception of it doesn't include delivery. And then we'll go, we could have looked at each individual room if we wanted to. But these reports are not used very often unless you're trying to track something down or look for something or trying to do some planning, long-term planning. Those are not very useful. But this report's very useful. This one is used all the time along with drawings from other programs. And so here we have the option of showing that first page, the job information. Then we could show a job cost breakdown, which is a similar report to what we see over here, but we don't really need that when we're trying to create drawings for the shop. And that's what this is usually used for. And then you can have a detailed cost markup as well. So you can check as many or a few of these boxes as you want. And then you can include as many or few of these items as you want, same items we saw in the other. But in this case, because this is for the guys, the drawings are going to tell them everything they need to know about cabinets, doors, door fronts, panels, toe board, and fillers. So I don't need to see these items on this report. But I do need to see trim, moldings, accessories, and hardware so that the finished guy can see how much trim and molding to pull, if he needs to pull crown mold or light rail, or some, if there's some fluted fillers included with his job, he needs to be able to see what items he needs to finish. And then the guy loading the trailer needs to know how much of all of these things either needs to be mounted to a cabinet, mounted in the cabinet, or put on the trailer to go with the job. So it becomes a bill of materials as well. And then again, you can choose this all or selected shown reports. And in this case, I want to see everything that is related to trim, molding, accessories, and hardware, but I don't want to see these items. Again, you can check as many or few of these boxes as you want. And then you select your format. An item list is this exact same list, just without a little checkbox in front of it. We'll see it in just a second. The purchase list gives us a little checkbox and allows us to have a list to create our purchase orders to order the items that we've said we'll include with the job from. And then again, this is just the print setup. So I'm going to switch this so we don't have to look at fine print for this particular application, because the video software does not automatically shrink the next program down to the proper size, so it's for you to be able to see it. So I'm just going to go here to the preview, do not print, and look at it using the business partner as opposed to using fine print. I'm going to use that same job in those same three rooms. And these are the pages that we would staple to our drawings. And I would actually use fine print to combine these pages and the KCD drawings to tell my guys in the shop what to do. So again, this page is identical to the estimate or proposal. The only difference is it says job information up here. Everything else is the same. So your guys in the shop are seeing the same thing the homeowner or builder or designer, whoever you're working with, architect, saw. And it tells them the door styles and what profiles, if you're making your own doors, what shaper cutter to load on the shaper, what edge band to use, what finish process to use, what color finish to use, any glaze. All of that would be on these pages. And that's the master bath hers, and then that's the master closet hers. And we go to the second portion of this, which are the purchase list. And you see here we now have a checkbox for items that you might purchase. So if I were going to purchase leg levelers, now I may purchase a box of those, so I may ignore that line item. If I buy these things by the box and just replenish as they run out, I don't necessarily have to pay attention on this list. But the things that are specific, like this base mold, this cherry base mold, I need to have an 8-foot piece to be able to do this. So I need to order that. And once I ordered it, I would check that off on this list. And the same thing with the feet, or the shaped bracket feet. I would want to do that. The parts for the rollout tray, the TTB-520 is a Tentex unit that we would use, and we need 2 of those to be in stock when it's time to run this. We're going to need 8 elite drawer guides. I can go back and make sure I have them and make sure they're there. I'm going to need 14 hinges in order what I need there. And then we have the same information for the master bath hers, and the same details for hers, and then the master closet, and the details of the item, the purchase list for the master closet. So that's all of the reports that you would use on a frequent basis. Again, these down here are not used, but they just give you a list. And each of those reports you can include as many rooms or as few rooms as you want in that process, and you can preview them or you can print them, however you need to do it. But those are the reports that are available within the Business Partner. I hope that was helpful to everyone, and I look forward to seeing you on another video soon.